1230 FYI.
This is the John and Ken Show. Hi there.
Hi there.
Hi there. Number's 1-888-JOHN-KEN, 1-888-564-6536. Want to email us? It's john-ken@crimenet.com. I saw something in our pile of stuff here. It
Rarely happens.
It actually revives an old childhood rage that I had.
All right.
I had this when I was a kid. This is going to sound weird.
Sorry, caller, but our hour of rage has passed.
You know how when there's accidents on a highway, there's some horrible accident, a little memorial is sometimes set up. You'll see a little, well, it's described here as a mound of flowers, a marker, a little cross is erected, a little memorial to the tragedy of the car accident.
Every time I pick you up, I say one.
Oh, the Ennis Cosby,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Somebody freshened it up today, as a matter of fact.
That's been
fresh.
That's been over 2 years, right?
Right. Oh, it's January 97.
Right. So, yeah.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, the ramp near my
house.
house.
That was a murder, but
that's where he was shot, just not far from my house.
Yeah.
So there's this guy in Boston, and this is the kind of good stuff that irritates me. A guy named Paul Chisuk. What he wants to do...
Chisuk.
There's a guy, a lot of time on his hands. He wants a law so that there will be a sign with the names of car crash victims and the dates they were killed.
Oh, no.
Dotted along all the state's highways. So whenever somebody dies on a highway, they get a little sign with their name and the date they died.
No, I'm not going to drive along and look at lists of dead people.
Exactly.
What is that? That's too morbid.
Well, listen to this.
Look, I get an odd tinge every now and then. I drive along and think of just in an instant I could be dead, and that's it. You're splattered on a roadway, and they clean up your body and move on. It's kind of an odd thing.
You want to be constantly reminded how many people died and how close you are?
That could get ugly on some of the busier highways and freeways.
Oh yeah, it would be a continuous. What if you have one of those massive accidents where 14 people die? You gonna have 14 signs lined up?
Or after 50 years, it could look like a graveyard if enough people die in the same area.
Yeah, exactly. What happens over time? So get this.
No, this is denied. Let's move on.
He says, just the message that you get from a placard alongside the road to recognize and know that someone died here, I think that's sufficient to take your foot off the gas.
Oh, and cause another accident.
Yeah, the last thing you ought to do is when you're driving on a highway is take your foot off the gas.
Usually if somebody puts a mound of flowers and a marker, a little cross, well, it's usually removed in a few days and you just move on.
Well, this
guy wants permanent signs?
This is a debate in Massachusetts and other states too, Virginia as well. There's people who want these roadside memorials.
Apparently California bans them outright.
And you know what?
Texas allows some with restrictions. Illinois discourages them. States have faced this problem.
And you know what they do? They dare you to oppose this thing. They try to shame you into going along with it because how dare you not want to honor the dead? How dare you not want to put up a warning sign to slow people down so we have less carnage on the highway?
So the response from the traffic safety people is that could be a problem obscuring the right way and the clear view of motorists if you have signs there.
Well, you know what this reminds me of when I was a kid?
No, what?
This ties into my childhood rage.
Oh, what is that?
When I was a kid, I was obsessed with baseball. I loved baseball. And what I really hated was how many ballparks, because I love the distinctiveness of some ballparks. I love the specialness, of like a Wrigley Field or Fenway Park. I love the special names for the park. And I always hated that so many stadiums were named Memorial Stadium in honor of the war dead.
Yes.
There was this craze for a while. It was in Buffalo and Baltimore.
Veterans Stadium in Philadelphia.
Everything.
Baltimore had a memorial stadium.
Everything was memorial. Everything was veterans memorial. It was all over the country. And it used to irritate me because nobody wanted to stand up to the American Legion, the patriotic wackos who thought that every public building in the nation ought to be dedicated to war dead. That was the only thing worth honoring. It was the only description you could put on a public stadium is War Memorial, Veterans Memorial, Dead Soldiers Memorial,
Great
Soldiers Field in Chicago.
straight line at a talk radio station attacking the local American Legion.
No, I hated it. I'm
90% of the listeners.
I'm 8-9 years old, and I remember being annoyed by this. It's like, so what do we have to honor them every 5 minutes for? How come every time somebody puts up a stadium, it's got to be War Memorial, Veterans Memorial? Oh, they're the only special people on the earth? Why do we have to be reminded of war dead all the time? Why can't you have a colorful baseball name for the parks? It's baseball. It's a game. It's supposed to be fun. Summertime, grass, sunshine, competition. Instead, War Memorial.
Well, now they're naming them after corporations. That makes it any better.
No, I don't like
in San Diego.
No, I hate
Recom in San Francisco.
No, I hate
Do you like to go back to the vets?
No, I don't like that. I don't like either. But it's one of those things, it's like they dare you to oppose something. It's like, well, how dare you oppose dead soldiers? How dare you oppose, dead veterans? Well, enough already with the dead veterans, all right? And there's always...
Give them their memorial plaque in Washington and move on.
It's the same thing they do with the drunken driving. It's like, well, let's make it .08. Let's make it .06. Well, let's make it .0032.
Yes, I agree.
Because how dare you oppose...
Zero tolerance.
How dare you oppose drunken drivers because they run over little children? It's that goody-good shame crowd.
Well, I don't think you can lump them all in one category.
It's all the same attitude, though. They're all holier than thou. They're all better than we are.
Says last year in Massachusetts, officials rejected a man's request to erect a white cross where his son died in a crash the previous year. See, they stood up to that kind of memorializing.
Keep it private. You want to mourn your dead family members. You do it in your house. You don't have to thrust it out in public where everybody's going to get distracted and depressed.
Aren't they going to create I'm sure somewhere in Littleton there's going to be something permanent there.
There were people talking about knocking the school down, turning it into Memorial Park.
What did I say to you after that happened? You said the same thing. Those kids are not going back in that school ever.
Oh, I didn't say that. You said ever.
I'll stand by that, ever.
Well, a lot of kids are saying, why should we have these beasts take our school away? And people are going, geez, it's going to be a lot of money to build another school. I have a feeling Well, I'm not going to study in that library. I'll bet you that's got to be changed. Most of the bodies were. Yeah, I'd probably redo the library, but... Yeah, but, it's another thing, though. Do you want a memorial for the dead in your face forever? There's something about mourning and going on with life that I believe in.
I see what...
I don't believe in constantly mourning and reminding yourself of the dead and, having it in your face every day. I mean, there's going to be
well, they want to
kids
remember
going in
people
there.
They loved.
Yeah, I think that's something you do privately. Public memorials bother me. I think private, in your house. Somebody died, you can go a shrine in your house if you want.
In your house?
Yeah.
Like leave their bedroom if it was a kid the way it was? Or
yeah, and I don't think people should do that either. I think
you don't like that?
That causes you to freeze in time, and then you never... Is that it for the rest of your life? And I'm not diminishing the horror of it all, but I don't think the dead person would want you to waste your days mourning and mooning over them. I don't know.
A couple of weeks would be nice.
Oh, yeah, a couple of weeks, yeah.
If I die first, you'll have a...
Yeah, right. I'll be doing audition the next day.
I want to get a little microphone plaque that you'll put up privately in your studio at home.
We'll bury you with your microphone.
In your office. So, you want to talk to the veterans mad at you?
Oh, sure. Not like I didn't expect it. Michael, you're on the John and Ken Show.
Yeah, John, you're a real piece of work. I mean, I think you're a hilarious guy and smart and everything, but this goes back to your feeling that you are like a country, your family is a country of the John land or John Slovakia or something like that.
John Slovakia, good one. I like that.
And you are Slovenia, maybe, John Slovenia. You seem to have no appreciation the amount of blood and guts that were sacrificed by military people to protect this.
I actually have a huge amount of respect and awe for the World War II generation and what they did. I really do.
Well, if I was alive then, I would have ran.
But I would have ran if I was alive then. But when I was a kid, I didn't want to see all the baseball stadiums about war and death and memorials. I just thought that was depressing and obnoxious and selfish on the part of the veterans.
Well, most of those stadiums, I imagine, were erected fairly shortly, with 5 or 10 years after the end of World War II, when there was at the same time a huge amount of gratitude to the sacrifices that were.
I always sensed when I was a kid it was a bit of bullying on the veterans' part. It's like, don't you dare oppose us because, we saved your asses.
Well,
we want to be honored.
Maybe you're blaming the victims or blaming the veterans, and maybe it was the local politician. Maybe there were people that felt really guilty because they didn't go because they were draft dodgers.
Well, maybe.
They erected the stadium.
All right, Mike. Thanks for the call.
Maybe we don't explore this memorial idea, though. I mean, you know anybody's hanging on to the dead too long? And the whole idea of these memorials. Because I would be very much opposed to having signs all over my highways.
Yeah, I know. I don't want to be reminded of death. I do not want to know where everybody died. I mean, you know what that would do, like driving with my wife? Because my wife gets affected by this stuff. My wife would be in tears like every 20 minutes going down the highway.
Reading the names off?
She'd read the names, you know, and you know if it's going to be children, they'd probably make it clear that it was a child who died. Well, let's just, you know, I mean,
next there'll be pictures of them.
Yeah, then you're gonna have pictures. I mean, the grief of the parents.
The wreckage left there?
Yeah, photos of the accident. I mean.
Now, if you got any feelings on this, we'll take your call.
I mean, I feel really strongly that this, and it's in a number of states they're fighting, you know, for this. And again, it's goody goods. It's these morbid goody goods.
Our number is 888-JOHN-KEN. Morbid goody goods.
The morbid goody goods.
888-564-6536.
This is the John and Ken Show.
You're short of breath. There's pain in your chest. You may be having a heart. FYI.
This is the John and Ken Show.
And our number is 888-JOHN-KEN, 888-564-6536.
There's a guy in Massachusetts who wants he wants signs along the side of the highways in that state memorializing everybody who's ever died in a car accident on the highways. And Massachusetts is not the only state looking at this. You know what they have in Ireland? In Ireland, the government marks the place of fatal accidents with a warning sign. It has a black dot and the words "traffic black spot." Isn't that odd? Traffic black spot, and that's supposed to mean somebody died there.
I guess it's supposed to also warn you that it's dangerous, but it may not be.
So this guy, Paul Chisholm, went to his dope legislator, and it was a woman, so, you know, she, of course, fell for this idea. And
pick on women.
Well, maybe go all weepy and sobby over this stuff.
Seepy.
All right, let's go to the phones here. Let's go to Don. You're on the John and Ken Show.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi. I wonder if this guy in Massachusetts ever talked to any family members who lost someone. I did. And I wouldn't want a memorial.
What happened to you?
Well, my son died in an auto accident on a state highway. And I think you're right. I agree. It's a nice private thing, and do your own private thing, and get on with life. You have to do that.
Yeah, can you imagine driving by a sign every day reminding you of your son's death?
I wouldn't want to be reminded of that spot, whether I go there a lot or not. And, you know, and I've seen others around, and, you know, it's poignant, and it's nice to think about it once, but it's not necessary.
What,
you guys, you know, I mean, you guys are cool, you know, you really kind of do a lot of hype on stuff, and that's okay, and it's okay even with this, because I think you're right. You don't need...
it's a small story, but it kind of bugged me, you know, and I think a lot of people feel intimidated when they're presented with an issue like this. It's like, well, you can't oppose a memorial to dead people, you know, and it's to slow people down on the highway, and people feel like, and I really don't think we should become a nation where all the highways are cluttered with all these placards honoring, you know, horrible accidents.
Well, I agree with you, and there could be some places where it would be cluttered.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure, you know, there's dangerous curves and that you know, where there's been dozens of accidents.
Right,
over the
better
years.
for the traffic department not to put up a black dot, but maybe just a warning sign, dangerous curve.
All right, Don, thanks for the call.
All right,
bye. Let's go to Jim. You're on the John and Ken Show.
Hey, how you doing?
Fine.
Yeah, I got to tell you, I was just going through. My family and I were just heading south in New Mexico through Arizona and stuff about a month back. And I started seeing these crosses on the side of the road. I thought, man, I've been seeing a lot of those. And I started kind of paying attention. I couldn't believe how many there were. One spot, I saw 6 of them. And I'll tell you what, it made me paranoid. I thought, man, there's either some lousy drivers here or I wasn't sure what it was, but I figure it was dead people, right?
What else could it be?
Right. I'm sure that's what it was.
I know. I mean, so what you have is a highway full of uncomfortable people.
Oh, it made me paranoid. I told my family, I said, put them belts on. I mean, I wouldn't even drive without them on, you know. And
well, you see, that's what this guy's after. This guy is after that sort of effect. So you put on the belts and you slow down, you become a much safer driver.
But it was scary, I'm telling you. I'm both hands plastered to the wheel, but let me tell you what happened. I'm going through Arizona in the dark, and I'm still thinking about these crosses, thinking, man, be careful, it's dark out. I go through this intersection on this Indian reservation, and son of a gun, if it didn't, I don't know if it saved my life or what. I don't know what the heck was going on, but some guy was laying down in the middle of the road, and I just about ran over him, and just real cautious about it.
Okay, could have been another cross for you.
Yeah.
You would have contributed.
Yeah.
What was the guy doing lying down in the middle of the road?
Well, I don't know. It's kind of poor there. There was a guy on the left side of the road and a guy on the right. There's a lot of traffic coming toward me. I truthfully think they were trying to make us collide. I don't know what for.
All right, Jim, thanks for the call.
Something to do.
It was a poor guy. Why is the guy lying in the middle of the road? Oh, it's a poor area. Oh, I understand. Yeah, poor people, they lie in the middle of the road. Michelle, you're on the John and Ken Show.
Hi. Hey, I'm with you on the public roadside memorials. I think they should be abolished. I drive by 3 of them on my way to work every day, and one of them has become just this dump site of dead flowers, soggy teddy bears, and popsicle stick crosses. And everyone's afraid to go and tidy it up or clean it up.
Because it's a kid that died there.
Oh, you know what it was? It was he was a kid, yeah. He was like 22 years old, drunk, and decided to blow off the stop sign, and, he hurt 2 other people. But he got killed. So, there's this roadside memorial there to him, and, if anything,
Gotta go, Michelle.
My number is 888 John Ken. More of your calls coming up on roadside memorials.
This is the John and Ken Show. Oh, let's do the phonics game. Wait, what the hell's wrong with me? Phonics game, junior for ages 3 to 6. I will give.
It's true. Mrs. Liddy owns all the guns. The G-Man, G. Gordon Liddy. Monday morning at 10, only on Talk Radio 1230 FYI.
This is the John and Ken Show.
And our toll-free number is 888-JOHN-KEN. 888-564-6536. Memorials on the highway for those killed in traffic accidents.
It's a guy in Massachusetts who wants them, and other states are looking at this idea, and you got to be forceful here. You do not want a country, I was going to use the term littered, but maybe I guess it should be a little more sensitive, cluttered with memorials to dead people just because they died in traffic accidents. Why don't we have memorials for people, no matter how they died, everywhere? Why would traffic accidents be singled out? Anywhere.
Move into a house, there's a memorial for a guy who had a heart attack in the bedroom.
If a guy drops dead on the sidewalk of a heart attack, just put a little memorial there. To remind people not to eat fatty foods.
Pets killed. We should have memorials.
I mean, and it's all for the sake of slowing people down on the highway. You know what? Speed doesn't kill people. It's bad driving kills people. If everybody's going 75 miles an hour and staying in the lane and not cutting and not tailgating, nobody's going to die. But you can drive 75, you can drive 35. If there's some jerk tailgating and cutting and swerving, then you're going to have a death. So sick of this nonsense about speed equals death. Does not. Foul driving equals death.
Well, not all accidents happen from somebody swerving and tailgating. People just don't pay attention sometimes. You got your cell phones, you got your people who are tired.
Oh, that too. You're right.
You got your drunks. Your friends.
Let's go to Sharon. You're on the John and Ken Show. Sharon.
Hi, this is Sharon. Hi. Thanks for taking my call.
Sure.
I am a parent. 6 months ago, my 18-year-old son was killed in a car accident, and we have his friends put up a roadside memorial for him. And as from a parent's point of view, to have something like that on the side of the road is wonderful. And it wasn't because he was driving badly. It was strictly road conditions. He hit black ice and swerved into an oncoming lane. And so from that point of view, from a parent's point of view, I like it. I mean, I like to see that.
Can you understand the cumulative effect if everybody got one?
I suppose so, but I guess and maybe I thought different of it before I had the loss, but now that I do have the loss, I guess I see it.
Why? See, I don't know. I get very shy about public displays like that. If there was something in my family, I really would not want it a public memorial. I really think it's something to keep inside the house. Just my feeling. I get embarrassed and a little.
I suppose, but you don't know it until you're actually experiencing it. I want people to remember him. I still now, after 6 months...
But you're going to have strangers driving by largely. They're not going to remember him. They didn't know him.
No, but I know that people have called me to say, where is it? Because we're driving past that way. We'd like to see it lay a rose. so, his friends laid it down or put it down, and we're actually going to be...
Well, how long do you think it's going to be up? How long would you like it to be up?
Forever.
Forever?
Yep.
Well, that's the cumulative problem I have.
It could be, and I suppose when I see it along the highway between where I live and where I work, a very well-traveled road, when you see a lot of them, it might be different, but where he was killed, it was up in the mountains, and there aren't many up there.
Mm-hmm.
And I suppose for me, it's also... that is a really bad stretch of road. It's one of the worst stretches of road in Canada. And a lot of people die there in car accidents in that area. And it's also a sign to say, guys, we need to be careful how we drive, and we need to watch for road conditions. And it's not just tailgating. It's not just speeding.
I don't know. They have signs up to tell people to slow down and warn them of dangerous conditions. It seems like an array of death memorials is... I don't know. If you're not paying attention to the sign, is the death memorial going to impact you?
I don't know. It might. It did a couple of callers ago. He said that he immediately put his seatbelts on.
Well, because he saw this huge array of crosses.
But if that's a bad area of road, maybe people should be a little more observant of it. And I know the people don't watch signs. That's why they speed. That's why they cut off people. That's why people don't pay attention to road signs. They don't pay attention to slower when wet or, school zones. People don't pay attention to things like that, but they do pay attention.
It'll get creepy, though. If we have nothing but rows of death on the side of the road, it's too creepy. It's not a fun way to live, even if it's going to save a few lives. It's not a happy, atmosphere to have.
Yeah. I agree with you in that sense, but I guess I'm just saying it from a parent's point of view that... because it was so recent, it's a good thing for me.
No, I understand. All right, thanks very much for the call.
Well, if you want to go that far, why don't you do what they do at the high schools near prom time and put the wreckage out there? Remember they like to put the wreckage of a drunk driving death out on the front lawn of the school for a while. It's supposed to scare the kids away. So we should leave the wreckage out on the side of the...
If all this stuff worked, we wouldn't have any deaths on the road. Nobody would drive dry. But
if we can save one life...
we could save one life.
Well, it might be yours.
Let's go to Scott. You're on the John and Ken Show.
No, don't take this one.
Hey, guys.
Hi, Scott.
I was calling the guy that mentioned driving through Arizona and almost hitting somebody in the middle of the road.
Yeah.
I lived out in Tucson for almost 9 years, and he had an encounter with the stereotypical drunk Indian. It is a reality out there that when you drive through the reservations, you have to be very careful because they will pass out on the side of the road.
They do have a high alcohol problem alcoholic problem on the reservations.
He's sort of lucky it was dark because that way he didn't have to look at all the beer bottles and the dirty Pampers laying on the side of the road as well as he was driving through there. But there's a whole second market for this death memorial thing out there. I remember...
what do you mean, a second market?
Well, there's a market for the crosses and the wreaths and the candles and all this.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. That is a big business.
Yeah, and especially in that part of...
I know, and you're not supposed to argue it. But the winning line is always, but if it saves one life. It's like, something, I don't care if it saves one life or 8 lives. I don't want the highways cluttered with death memorials. What a creepy, weird...
Because it bothers your eyes?
Because that's not what life is about. You should be celebrating the living, not constantly carrying on about the dead.
The thing is,
you
do get complacent on roads. You don't realize how dangerous it is. You're just tooling along there at 70. You're not even thinking. Could be dead in an instant.
Jim, you're on the John and Ken Show.
14.
Still not fixed. 7 weeks. Tom, you're on the John and Ken Show.
Hey, howdy.
Hi.
Well, I'm kind of bummed out. You guys are going to be leaving the air here pretty soon, from what I understand.
Right.
But look, I think that they should have signs out for every drunk driver that's killed another person. I'd pay tax dollars for that. Hello?
You want a sign for every drunk driver death?
Yeah, I think that, check this out. More people die per year in the United States from drunk driving than all the troops and soldiers and whatnot in the Vietnam War.
What's that? Where do you get this?
Oh, that's all statistics.
Wait. There's 58,000 people died in the Vietnam War on the American side.
That's right.
We do not have over 58,000 drunken driving deaths every year. That's not true.
You need to study up there.
That's not true.
It's true.
That's a huge overstatement.
And I feel that we we should have signs out there for drunk driving, because everybody that drinks, I don't drink anymore, but I do know for a fact that I used to, have a beer or two and go out and drive to the store or whatever. Everybody that has a beer needs to see signs out there saying, you know what, somebody died right there. Maybe they can find some other way of smothering their feelings. Who knows?
All right, thanks for the call. People are not looking at the long run here. You're not looking at all the people who die and then all the years that'll go by.
Well, gets to be.
You'll have more death memorials and you'll have cars on the road.
You get like 2 years out there with your memorial, and then it's over.
Time limit, definitely a time limit.
And if nobody in your family's living in the area anymore, well, we pull you. There's got to be a reason.
Yeah, if nobody remembers you anymore, then you're gone. Once your generation passes.
You hold a town hearing every now and then. You read the names. If nobody stands up for the names, they're pulled.
Brid, you're on the John and Ken show.
How you doing?
Fine.
Good show.
Thank you.
Yeah, I got a little bit of a beef, and I think it's probably the sickest thing I've heard for a long time. I'm a national ranked motorcycle rider. Do a lot of miles throughout America, and they're saying so I have to be an American Motorcycle Association member. And
I'll get to the point here.
Excuse me?
Get to the point.
Yeah. Last year, there was an accident in Minnesota. A local senator killed a guy on a motorcycle. The guy was just touring on his motorcycle. Guy pulled out and hit him head on. And wasn't the motorcyclist's fault? No way. The police did not go to the guy's house for over 4 hours, although he only lived like half a mile from the incident. And a year after the fact, the guy dies of prostate cancer. Now they want to erect a memorial and call the highway after the senator that died. And I think it's pretty bad policy, really.
Yeah, I think so, too. Thanks for the call. Good Lord.
What's your problem, man?
What's wrong with you? What is wrong with you? What is wrong with you? Hey, Jennifer, you're on the John and Ken show.
Keep going.
Hi.
Keep it going. Hi.
Hi, what do you think of these roadside memorials?
I don't agree with it. I passed quite a few of them on my way to work, and I think it's, I feel bad for the people that died, but...
Are these the makeshift memorials where people put together little flowers and crosses?
Yes. I mean, and if they're going to get to the point where they put plaques up, then we as taxpayers have to pay for the plaques. Then when the plows hit them in the winter, we got to put all the plaques back up. And,
those drunken plow drivers.
I just think it's a waste of money. I think what would be more effective is the dangerous areas of the road where there's dangerous curves and that there's
make the road safe. The places where the stuff is dangerous, do something to make it safe.
I think a good idea would be...
We have a death fetish in this. We have a memorial fetish in this country.
Yeah.
Whether it's, it's like the Princess Diana effect, where the people send billions of flowers.
Right.
This stupid bimbo harlot died in a car accident. I guess it was a British death fetish primarily, but it did spill over here. I don't get it.
Right. No, I think what would be more effective is the stuff that's not random. The places where it's actually dangerous roadways is to put those grids in the road where you can actually hear a noise.
Oh, yeah, I like those.
It kind of gets your attention.
Those wake me up.
Yeah.
I've fallen asleep and I hear the as you're going along.
Or there's a stop sign coming up and it's a blind stop sign. That's where a lot of people get killed. Or these blind hills and people are going too fast. They put the grids in the road, night or day, you hear it, you get your attention back on the road.
All right, thanks for the call. Thanks very much. Got to take a break. More of your calls coming up.
Yeah, the roadside memorials. Maybe they'll have a memorial for us when our talk show's gone. The number is 888-JOHN-KEN, 888-564-6536.
You put a little cemetery marker on the spot on your radio. This is the John and Ken Show.
James Whitmore here with Carol Dorfels. Carol, you turned your love of gardening. Make the smart choices with your money. It's Bloomberg Business for Breakfast. Monday morning at 6. Only on Talk Radio 1230. FYI.
This is the John and Ken Show.
Hey, why not call 888-JOHN-KEN, 888-564-6530.
So, holier than thou, goody good, Paul Chizuk.
Chizuk.
Got a dumb idea to put up roadside memorials all over Massachusetts to commemorate everybody who's died on the highway in that state. Everybody.
It'll make you stop and think about the dangers lurking on the roadway.
You'll be stopping and thinking every quarter mile as you notice another sign commemorating...
You might be squinting at the sign and go, I might know that person. Crash.
Yeah. Let's go to Terry. You're on the John and Ken Show. Terry.
Hello.
You're on.
Hey, John. Hey, Ken.
Yeah.
I kind of told the story there. I was thinking the same thing. And you're driving along, going on the freeway, you look on the side and trying to figure out who these people are got in an accident and died. The next thing you know, you're getting a memorial put up for yourself.
One will lead to the next.
Exactly. I mean,
people are going to be crashing into the memorial signs.
Exactly.
No, people.
Let's not get too involved in the reality of the situation here.
Well, how big are they going to
make
be?
the road safe for people, not put up more distractions that are going to cause more accidents.
Are they going to be big, these signs, John, or are they just going to be little plaques?
I don't know.
Maybe like billboards.
No, it says this guy's idea is signs with the name of the car crash victims and the dates they were killed. So if you're gonna do it to have an impact on people, they've got to be large enough.
Well, it's going to be more of an impact when people start having accidents because of these signs.
So it's not going to be a little 2-foot plaque on the ground there. It's probably going to be something that's at least eye level as you're blowing by.
The neon sign.
Yeah. Well, all right, thanks for the call. It's kind of the whole, it's one of those annoying things about human nature. Somebody dies, and they got the big funeral and the eulogies and the big memorial service, and, and who's nice to you when you're living? Nobody. Anybody say anything nice to you when you're living? Anybody get a ceremony?
Nobody says anything nice to you ever?
No, nobody says anything nice to me.
Well, that's pretty sad.
Do you ever get a ceremony in life that equals your funeral? Outside of your wedding.
Yeah, I was going to say weddings.
Outside of your wedding.
Confirmation. Baptism.
Nothing. Once you get married, that's it. For the next 50 years,
circumcision.
You never get a mass commemoration of anything. And when you're dead, everybody comes out and says how wonderful you are. Does anybody say how wonderful you are when you're alive? No. Everybody ignores you while you're alive. Then you're dead, then you become wonderful.
Well, even people that didn't like you tend to say good things about you after you're dead because that's just what society expects.
I don't do that.
Well, you wouldn't go to somebody's wake or funeral and start saying to other people, hey, idiots. Well, cheap idiot.
No, I wouldn't go. I wouldn't go there and pretend that I liked
your wife dragged you and you didn't like the guy?
Oh, I just wouldn't. No, she wouldn't drag me.
No, it doesn't work anymore.
No. There's John. You're on the John and Ken show. John.
14.
No, it's 13 this time. Yeah, he just hung up.
He gave up.
Yeah. Let's go to Damien. You're on the John and Ken show.
Hey, good evening.
Hi.
I lived in South Dakota for a while, and I'm not sure if they're still doing it, but they actually put up, they didn't have the people's names on them, but every time somebody died in a car wreck, they put up a sign.
Every time?
What was on the sign?
It didn't have their name, but it said, I think it said think, why die. It was a black and white sign.
That sounds like the Irish again.
Nothing like having a nice joyride on the highway. You got to think about dying every mile.
It was pretty eerie, and if you had a car wreck where 5 or 6 people died, they'd put up 5 or 6 signs, bing, 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 right down the line.
They really would?
Yeah, they did. I'm not sure if they're still doing it, but they were doing it.
We were joking about that before. If you had a multi-death accident, would they have a whole row of signs?
Yeah, they did, right, within a foot or two of each other, right in the line.
God, what is it like to be a person like that who feels this is a good idea to remind everybody about death? Man, what kind of people are these?
And not only that, it's the government that's paying for this. It's the taxpayers that are paying for these signs.
Yeah, that's why a lot of states are telling them down.
Put up something in your own backyard if you want to memorialize the dead. But don't push it in everybody else's face. Man, I don't want to see it. I really don't want to be reminded how everybody died. If I don't know them, honestly, do I care all that much?
And it's a distraction, too.
All right, thanks for the call.
You're still there. That's my voice up out of hell there. And it's a distraction.
I mean, let's be honest. None of us care about the deaths on the road unless it's somebody we know. So it really doesn't have any sort of, constructive impact on me other than to irritate me.
I mean, every time I'm on my way to your house and I pass that Ennis Cosby Memorial, I think, I'm not changing the tire there. Not ever. You're not going to get, if I get a flat, I'm going to keep going.
Yeah. And don't be black and don't get stuck at 2 a.m. changing the tire.
Well, that's true.
That was the lesson of that. All right. We got to stop here.
We do?
Yes, this is the John and Ken Show.